life can be wonderful if you're not afraid of it. All it needs is courage, imagination. What is there to fight for? Everything! Life itself isn't that enough? What is there to fight for? Life is a beautiful, magnificent thing.
Welcome back to Quandary Quest, where we question everything, believe nothing at face value, and casually unravel the tangled web of reality while sipping questionable 2-day-old coffee. Now, I've been trying to get this episode recorded, and there keeps being audio interference. And so things happened while I was trying to get this recorded, and it's interesting how things unfold. I'll just say that. So I might include that happening as well. But today we're jumping in the deep end. Not lizard people in the subway deep, though. I'm not ruling that out. But who's really running the world kind of deep. And spoiler alert, it's not your president, it's not your prime minister, it's not even your favorite billionaire tech bro with the rocket fetish. Nope, it's the people behind the curtain, the ones you didn't vote for, the ones who whisper in boardrooms and make decisions in Geneva, while the rest of us are worried about paying rent and surviving group texts. Let's talk about the elite. We're told we live in democracies, but how democratic is it when billionaires and unelected institutions dictate global policy, control the media narrative, and essentially steer the ship while the rest of us are strapped to the deck chairs? I mean, controlling the media narrative. A lot of the people that work in the media also worked in the government once upon a time, or they bounce back and forth. They'll go from the government to the media to the government. You know, some of them work for CNN, some of them work for Fox. You just don't know. Or some of them are related to the Vanderbilts, like, what's his face with the really white hair? I can't remember his name. Andrew Cohen? I don't know. I can't remember his name. Anyway, the dude with the really white hair. And it's like swooped to the side. But the World Economic Forum, the Bilderberg Group, they're not conspiracy theories. They're real. And they're elite gatherings of world leaders, central bankers, tech giants, and sometimes even royalty. And they're deciding your future. Our future. And it's not in your country. It's not even in your language. And definitely not with your consent. As George Carlin said,
own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
you know, that part always makes an impact because he was so ahead of his time and more aware than anyone really knew at that time. You know, there's a percentage of people, I'm sure, who just thought he was doing great comedy, not actually telling you how the world really works while disguising it as jokes. We look back on it and we're like, wow, that's what he was telling us. It's all real. So, enter the man himself, Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, Bond villain energy, and architect of something called the Great Reset. Now, what's that, you ask? The World Economic Forum is an international advocacy, non-governmental organization and think tank based in Colonial Canton of Geneva, Switzerland. It was founded on the 24th of January 1971 by German engineer Klaus Schwab. The foundation's stated mission is improving the state of the world by engaging business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas. What? Listen to that again. By engaging business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas. That was his mission. Okay. The foundation is mostly funded by its 1,000-member multinational companies. The World Economic Forum is mostly known for its annual meeting at the end of January in Davos, a mountain resort in the canton of Graubünden in the Eastern Alps region. Members and selected participants, among whom are investors, business leaders, political leaders, economists, celebrities. Why celebrities? And journalists for up to 5 days to discuss global issues across 500 sessions. Aside from Davos, the organization convenes regional conferences. It produces a series of reports, engages its members in sector-specific initiatives, and provides a platform for leaders from selected stakeholder groups to collaborate on projects and initiatives. The World Economic Forum and its annual meeting in Davos have received criticism over the years, including allegations of the organization's corporate capture, of global and democratic institutions. That's what their mission said, though. They literally said it from the start. Institutional whitewashing initiatives and public cost of security, the organization's tax-exempt status, unclear decision processes and membership criteria, a lack of financial transparency, and the environmental footprint of its annual meetings. Yeah, all those people in one place. Let's talk about climate change while we're all burning fuel to get here. That sounds like a great idea. You could do the same thing over Skype or something. Possibly. I don't know if you could have 500 people there. Or 1,000. Whatever. Anyway, this same World Economic Forum said the pandemic was a, quote, rare but narrow window to, quote, reset the world. Economically, socially, technologically. And front and center on their 2020 marketing materials was this now infamous line.
You will own nothing, and you will be happy.
Sounds more like dystopian propaganda than a feel-good fortune cookie. And here's the kicker. That phrase, it mysteriously disappeared from their website after everyone started asking questions. You won't find it now unless you dig through the Wayback Machine or archives. And I don't know, maybe not even then. It's like it was memory hold. Why? Because we noticed. Let's crack open a big, spicy can of controversy. Why are the same people talking about vaccines, global control, and population reduction at the same time? Let's revisit this infamous quote from Bill Gates.
The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Wait, what? Lower the population by 10 to 15%. Now, sure, some say he meant slow birth rates through education. I don't know where they got that or how they got that. Where do you get that? Slow birth rates through education. He said lower the growth by 10 to 15%.
You don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. People don't feel like going to the stadium when they might get infected. You know, it's not the government who's saying, okay, just ignore this disease. And, you know, people are deeply affected by seeing these deaths, by knowing they could be part of the transmission chain. And, you know, old people, their parents, their grandparents could be affected by this. And so you don't get to say, ignore what's going on here. There will be the ability, particularly in rich countries, to open up if things are done well over the next few months. But for the world at large, normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. And so a global catastrophe doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. Not missiles, but microbes.
But when billionaires who profit from vaccines start talking about population reduction, yeah, we should start paying attention and asking questions. But what happens when you ask? Boom, you're flagged, demonetized, labeled a conspiracy theorist. That's their favorite. Suddenly your post violates community guidelines because the new normal to you.
Silence is compliance, and curiosity is criminal.
So let's talk logistics. When policies about your health, money, freedom, and privacy are decided, where are they made? Not in Washington, not in London, but in Geneva, Switzerland, home of the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization. These unelected global bodies hold more influence than your government does. Want to travel? Vaccine passport required. Want to work? Scan the chip in your arm. Want to speak freely? Oops, terms of service violation. These folks don't serve your nation. They serve their own interests, money, and power. Period. Now look, I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to say, wake up. Not in the trendy hashtag kind of way, but in the quiet, uncomfortable way where you start connecting dots and realizing how much of your choice is a carefully curated illusion. We didn't elect these people. We don't get a vote at Davos, and yet they shape the future of our nations. That's not democracy. That's a boardroom coup with better marketing. So what can we do? Start asking questions. Talk about this stuff to everybody. Push back when they tell you not to. Especially when they tell you not to. If people are telling you you're not supposed to talk about that, you're not supposed to ask questions about that, you should ask questions about that. Because the moment we stop questioning, we have already lost. So, I want to bring something up for you. Because it's very interesting that I should end up talking about this subject. And today, and I've been having a lot of issues trying to get this recorded, and it just hasn't worked out. So very, very interesting that just today, well, actually not just today, a couple of days ago, or yesterday. Anyway, the same thing happened. The Pope died, and Klaus Schwab retired or resigned or stepped down very quickly. Very quickly. And it's kind of sketchy because he had said that he was going to do it slowly, and he was at least going to be in there until 2027. So I want to show you this. This is from Sky News Australia. And I'm not sure which way they lean or anything like that. Misconduct by a whistleblower. Stepped down as chairman without an explanation. Look at the hand gesture. Investigation reporting an anonymous letter. The letter raised concerns about the organization's governance and workplace culture. The letter also alleged that the Schwab family mixed personal matters with the WEF's resources without proper oversight. Failures and abuses of power that have taken place over many years under the unchecked authority of Klaus Schwab. According to the Daily Wire, the letter states it is from current and former employees of the World Economic Forum. The WEF emailed a statement to Reuters about the recent allegations, asserting they are taking them seriously. It emphasizes that they remain unproven and will await the outcome of the investigation to comment further. A spokesperson for the Schwab family has denied all the allegations, according to the Wall Street Journal. Of course. The spokesperson, who also told WSJ Klaus Schwab intends to file a lawsuit against whoever sent the anonymous letter and anybody who spreads the mistruths. Schwab and the forum were under scrutiny last year following allegations of a toxic workplace harassment and discrimination. Claims of sexual harassment were not properly investigated or handled by the organization, according to the Financial Times. The Financial Times also reported that black and female employees were discriminated against. Schwab allegedly presided over the claims, revealing an investigation did not find the forum had any legal did not substantiate the allegations made against Schwab. Of course, if he was over it, why would he say that he himself was guilty? Former chair of Nestle and the WEF's vice chair is now head of the WEF. Very interesting. Very interesting. How crazy is that? So, very interesting that I've run into so many different issues with recording this. and this just recently happens. Funny how things work that way. I guess it was just meant to be.
Eight children who will become kings and queens in the future. Elizabeth, the 22-year-old Princess of Belgium. She will be the first woman on the throne in that country. 20-year-old Princess Catherine Amalia of the Netherlands. The future heir to the throne of Norway, 20-year-old Ingrid Alexandra. She will be the first female ruler in 6 centuries. Prince Christian, 18, of Denmark. Princess Leonor of Spain, now 18 years old. 11-year-old Estelle, Princess of Sweden. The future King of Great Britain, 11-year-old Prince George. And the 9-year-old heir to the throne of Monaco, Jacques.
Now, no one can really help what they're born into. We're all just kind of thrust into life with a randomly generated character, and we just gotta go with it. We can't help where we're born, what color our skin is, who our family is, and so on. In fact, there's little we can control except for the decisions we make. Anyone can come to the fork in the road of life and choose to go the way that may lead them down a good and decent path, or pick the path that may be deemed the darker path. Possibly being a road to power, it always corrupts, and people are just people. Rich or poor, black, yellow, tan, white, doesn't matter. The lines on the maps are a man-made thing anyway. But I do also think I'd like to make sure that legit criminals and terrorists, or an infiltration of immigrants designed to look like ordinary people, doesn't happen. Those made to look by the cancer that is the mainstream media, as if they're just innocent people and families, when in fact most of those people crossing are young men from various regions of the world who are military aged, and they're growing in number. They wish to overtake us, which can happen quite easily if we aren't aware. People forget that kingdoms topple in the snap of your fingers. Most Americans, anyway, take for granted what we've been given. And it isn't perfect, but nothing is. We've not had a war on our own soil in quite a long time, and people forget that it can happen at any time. Our system is filled with people, and people are devious and fallible, and don't always act for the good of the people, but instead for themselves. But this is also why we should look at what is happening around us more. These people who sit on these seats sit there because they were, supposedly, elected into that position. If no one votes, these small factions of society with really loud opinions get to go out there and decide what's best or who is best for us. And they may be sketchy as fuck and not even know how to give a good speech or nothing. Still, somehow, possibly because of who they knew, they gained that position. Come on. But don't become complacent. Remember that. Don't become complacent. Allowing the management of the things that affect your life be controlled by some random Joe Schmo who doesn't even share your views is ludicrous. We all obviously wish for self-governance, but, to be independent of any law or man-made obstacle, but that isn't the world that we live in right now. But if we become involved and take risks to make a change, then we'll work our way towards our eventual true freedom. But the key word is it's a risk. Or if you just love being governed, being told what to do, when you can go to the store, what you should be wearing, what you should be putting in your body, then continue on your little oblivious way. Goodness knows we wouldn't want to change your mind or open your eyes to how truly brainwashed the system has so many people. Yes, master. An overhaul is in order of everything. the education system, the medical big pharma system, the warmongering and profiteering system, the food system, the so-called food system, the tax system, everything. Though they are working on the whole taxes, it looks like. Throughout history, we've seen people who've been led, quote, led, by a sovereign leader. They're not always being led, or they're hardly ever led into a good ending. Most dying on the battlefield at the behest of the king for his own nefarious purposes, or purposes which will never fully be explained to them in any case. Pawns on the board. One falls, another takes its place. Like whack-a-mole, we are viewed as disposable. That those only with the most money, or influence, or noble blood belong on the higher end of society simply because of some random chance thing such as where they were born. Neither chooses it. It's all man-made. All the division is all man-made. The people such as us on the lower rungs of society, we're what scares them. There is power in our numbers, and that is exactly why kingdoms were created. Divide things up. Land, people, everything. So they're easier to control. And think about it. They've devised every way they can to split us up. And they make a new one every day. So, whether it's race, religion, how much money you make, your gender, whatever. It's just insanity. What is the need that we humans have for power? What is the reason we can't all just get along? What is this need to rule over others and to know what's best for everyone? Where does it come from? Wouldn't it be a beautiful world if we could all have our own, I know I've said this before, but if we could have our own little plots of land and we could trade and barter with one another, work in the community gardens and look after each other. Sad that so many people think that that will never happen. Maybe it's the thinking that makes it so. That'll never happen, so it'll never happen, because everybody perpetually creates that. Humans always seem to want more, or most people always seem to want more. Some people can never be satisfied, and I think that is the result, partially, of messed up parenting, which is really everyone's problem when you look around. The influence our parents had, or lack thereof, has on the rest of our lives is immeasurable. And the more I look at history, the more I see that the big events throughout time, the wars waged, the political upheaval, most of these things were done by basically children. If people didn't live super long lives back in the day, like they keep saying, and you look at most leaders, even pharaohs, they're handed the reins at such a young age, and they have the weight of the world thrust upon their shoulders. They haven't even had any life experience to speak of, for they haven't lived long enough to see much of a life, and yet they're looked on to make decisions for the whole of society, for the good of their people. Or not. In old times, it seemed like even the kings would occasionally ride out to battle with their armies. Nowadays, the soldiers get orders from someone who get the orders from someone who got the orders, and the leaders never put themselves in harm's way, ever. War these days consisting of battle from afar, where it's cold and less personable, making it more likely to be carried out by the soldier. Since you no longer have to look your enemy in the eyes while you strip them of their life. A battle of who gets there first. Whose finger hits the trigger faster. No longer who swings their sword more accurately. It's absolutely honorable to die for something that you believe in. That takes some balls. If the men who battle go because they are willing to die for a cause, then it is indeed honorable. But all the poor young men conscripted into service in the prime of their lives to die for made-up schemes devised by their own corrupt government, that, my friend, is a tragedy. Senseless killing. I'm so thankful to see people starting to wake up all over the world. We look around and we don't like what we're seeing. People are looking for a change. No one wants to fight, just the governments. Or at least they pretend like they're fighting. They get along when it comes to Antarctica, don't they? But what really chaps my ass are the veterans. Everyone is all gung-ho about sending their young heroes to die for something that isn't even real. Yet when these young boys return home, broken, grown men who can't escape the things that they saw or what they had to do, society casts them aside. The VA sucks balls. They are left to wander the streets, begging for money, for drugs or alcohol, or killing themselves and sometimes their loved ones because they never got the support they needed when they came back. They're expected to just hop right back into society like nothing happened, like their world wasn't flipped upside down, like their comrades, their friends, never fell around them. As, I'm sure they ask, why wasn't it me? Why was I spared? Survivor's guilt, I'm sure, plagues their minds. The ones who came back, that may seem normal on the outside, they were only just fortunate enough to never get wounded, physically, at least. What you can't see is their mind, and that may be the wounded part of them. Yet men are expected to suck it up and just get on with it. No one feels sorry for them, and no one seems to care. We have to change this. I want whoever maybe that's listening to this, I want you to know that I care. I thank you, and I care. And it really breaks my heart. We gotta do something about it. There have been many revolutions throughout history, some more violent than others, but we were willing to stand up against those who sought to rob us of our rights as humans, who now still seek to use our tax dollars to line their pockets, and we must learn to stand up once again. When will it start? Who will be the one? When will we say no more? Retirement age in America keeps increasing, and we just bend over and take it. In France, it rose by a couple of years, and there was a straight-out revolt. They were tossing shit on government buildings. We must use our most powerful tool, our voice, together. That's the thing that they're trying to prevent. Us getting together. Put away all the differences, because we're more alike than anything. It's just the small things. If we were all the same, it would be so boring. The differences make things interesting and fascinating. If everybody was the same, why would you even bother learning something about somebody? Because it would just be the same. What a boring world. Ugh. So, anyway, the thought of royalty still existing in a time such as today is very perplexing. Do people really still follow them? I don't know much about those other cultures just yet, but it sure is fascinating to have such a massive gap of wealth between the average person and these self-proclaimed royals. Just humans, like the rest of us. Unless you believe the tales of Queen Elizabeth, the reptilian. Dun dun dun. And alright guys, that is it for now. I just want you to think about no matter where life may take you, or what rabbit hole you may find yourself in, embrace the quest and question everything. If you enjoyed this episode, or it really did make you question everything, please share it with a friend, or leave a review, or join the discussion on Discord. I'm really wanting to get things going over there. Your voice matters. Unless you're Klaus Schwab, in which case, call me. I have questions. Or don't call me, because that would be weird.
The trouble is you won't fight. You've given in, continually dwelling on sickness and death. There's something just as inevitable as death, and that's life, 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 life. Think of the power that's in the universe, moving the earth, growing the trees, and that's the same power within you.